So thank you so much for joining us on Let the Healing Begin podcast. I'm your host, Asia. And today we have LaToya Jackson on with us. How you doing, Toya?
Hi, I'm wonderful. I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. So let's start with where are you from?
I am originally from Savannah, Georgia. I'm from Savannah, and I live in Atlanta. That's where I reside. I've been in Atlanta now about 20, matter of fact, 24 years, 2024. So I'm a Southern girl, born and raised in the South. I was raised by my grandparents. So I call a lot of down home Southern traditions. And I appreciate them. Man, you really do appreciate them because some of the foundations that I gathered from my childhood that people poured into me, that my family members instilled in me, especially being a lot of older people, it was wisdom. It was gems. And, at that time, when you're growing up, you don't recognize or realize that it's gems that they are pouring into you until later in life when you go through things. And then, definitely living in Atlanta, moving up here. A lot of times people say, "Oh, you're not from here. Where are you from? Oh, you're country." But it's a wholesomeness, and that's who makes you what you are. So I appreciate being raised by my grandparents, being around older people, to have those gems to impart in me. And, man, I just look at it how it was God's favor, how he favored me. And hey, I'm a country girl, so I embrace it. If for a minute there, you were like, "Oh, I'm not that country." Honey, I'm happy. I am country. I'm a country girl. I'm a family girl. And yeah, I'm a Southern girl.
That's what's up. So I know you mentioned, so let's go back to your childhood. I know that you mentioned that your grandparents raised you. Do you have brothers and sisters that grew up with you too?
I have brothers and I have sisters. Matter of fact, my grandparents raised me because my mother had me at the age of 15. And my dad was 18, turning 19 at the time. My parents never did get married. But I have two younger brothers. My mom has, on my mom's side, so I have two younger brothers. We don't have the same father. And then on my dad's side, my father had, oh my gosh, my father has four additional children, so it's five of us total. I have three sisters and a brother on my dad's side, and I have two brothers on my mom's side. So I have a total of three brothers and three sisters. And I'm seven all together, seven, I guess, number completion. So I really didn't grow up with my siblings. I grew up more closer to my brothers on my mother's side because my grandparents played a crucial role in our upbringing. So my brothers was always at my grandparents' house. But my siblings, my three sisters, and my brother on my father's side, we did not grow up together. We are aware of each other. Do we have a closer relationship? Yes. I deal with that because me being older, I'm the oldest. And so it's like, okay, LaToya, it's time, for me to bridge the gap. Because one thing, you have nothing to do with what your parents did in the past. You cannot pay for their mistakes or their sins or whatever. We all have a life and a purpose. What you can do is forgive, mend, and repair. And so therefore, I do wish that my relationship with my three sisters and my brother will be closer. But believe me, whenever we talk or meet each other, whatever, it's always love. It's no ill will. And my dad's parents were ministers. My grandfather and my grandmother were both bishops. Grandfather was an overseer, started churches. So one thing I'm going to say is I saw the same man and woman that was in church. They were the same people in that home life. So early on, I saw my grandparents living the word. It was no different. They was the same people in church as they was at home. And, as a kid, you don't realize it. But as a kid, especially, you fall out of a tree or something happens. My grandma laying hands on you like, "Man, can you take me to the hospital?" Like, gee, my grandma be like, "Come here, let me, come in here." And she let the name, "Oh, come on, grandma, come on." But it worked and it stopped. But, as a kid, you don't realize. And then also, my grandma be like, "Oh, here she comes. Grandma gonna preach again." But it's the way, it's your lifestyle. And as I got older, this is not a game. It's not a pretense. This is a lifestyle. Because when the Holy Ghost is in you, it's gonna come out you. It's gonna flow out you. You'll overflow. And I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. And you know what, like you said, when you're young, you don't really understand it, right? But then when you begin to like walk on that path and you begin to have those encounters with God, you like, this what they was talking about this whole time? Like, this is good. You know? So I know like that you had mentioned that your mom was pretty young. Like, would you see her often when you were growing up?
I did. My mom lived in the same. She lived in the same house with my grandparents with us until she probably got like 20. She didn't move until like 23, 24. She went to college. She still went to college at home, and then she moved out and got her own little place. But I saw her every day. So I saw her every day. My biological mother and I, we grew up more like sisters. And when I say we grew up more like sisters, we also like we have challenges like sisters. You know, I called her my mom out of respect because my grandmother. But it was like I used to call my mom, my biological mom, and my grandmother mom. I'd be like, Mama, and I'd be like, Mom. And my grandmother was my mom. My grandfather was my dad because they was there all the time, no matter what it was. They raised me. They instilled the values in me. You know, they was my examples. So no disrespect to my biological mother, but we grew up more like sisters. And I have uncles that are older than myself that we grew up like brothers, you know, because we were so close in age.
Yeah. That's good. At least you got to see her, you know, regularly. Now, what about now? Like, are you guys, well, I'm sorry, are you ladies still like friends?
We're friends. We talk. Matter of fact, I talked to her today, and in my book, I wrote a book called "Chosen on Purpose," and the book is really dealing with. It's funny you said the book is really dealing with. I have chapters, but when I say chosen on purpose, God is intentional. It's because it took me years of growing up, of self-destruction, you know, like, oh, I don't care, you know, nobody not gonna tell me anything. But it was almost a hurt of rejection coming from saying, okay, my mom don't want me because we didn't really have a mother-daughter relationship. And then it was like we grew up as sisters, so it was almost as if, not sometimes I think she felt as if I was a rival. And she said, Mama, take your side. It wasn't that. But because the relationship was the dysfunction, because your biological mother is supposed to be the one who nurture you coming from their loins, you know, different things. We didn't have that. So in the book, I wrote in there about my parents, mother issues, father's issues. And I was like, I have daddy and mama issues. But with my mother, I said I take event by event. And what I mean by that is we have our wonderful times, and then we have times when I'm like, you're wrong. You know, I'm like, what are you talking about? But what I learned is I have to forgive and go on. Even if it's something that we disagree about, or if we're talking about an event, something in history or something in my childhood, a lot of times we recall things different. And I'm like, no, that didn't happen. You know, I'm like, where you coming from? But I learned to forgive. And what I learned is we all view things differently. Because even though you may be there at the same time, the same situation, you might be present, but the way you view it and process it is going to be different from others that are involved. You know, most of the time you want people, you know, everybody to be on the same page. And then also, too, I had to think about the fact my mom was 15 when she had me. You know, she was a child, she was a kid. So back in the 70s, I'm pretty sure she faced a lot of things. You know, ostracized back then, teenage mother. So I'm pretty sure she went through a lot. So I had to realize, let her heal, whatever she is on her healing journey. And for me to embrace my healing journey. And so I take event by event. You know, I may talk to her in the morning, and me and her may have a disagreement or may not see eye to eye or something. But I understand it's okay to disagree, to agree, but have an understanding and do it in a way that is respectful. That you don't take it personal. You just understand that's our person's view. And maybe, you know, we all got a lot of healing to do. We got some areas that definitely got to be healed. Some people healed in one area faster than the others, you know? And so I just take event by event with her. So,
You know,
we have good days, we have days and be like, what is this? But
yeah. And you know what? That all is a part of like healing, right? And us being humans, right? And like as you said, we all heal at different rates and at different paces, you know. Some people it takes a little longer for them to heal. Some people can just get over stuff quickly, you know. Um, and also too, it was something else that you said when you said like we also have to keep in mind like that our parents went through stuff too and that they have unhealed trauma, you know. So I'm pretty sure because I know in a lot of like black households, and I'm not even gonna limit it to just black households because it's a lot of households, period. We are not taught emotional intelligence. We're not taught about trauma. We're not taught about grief. We're not taught about how to handle those emotions and the processes on that. Like we're not taught, you know, none of that. You know, emotional awareness. We're not taught those things. So we go through all this trauma and stuff. And then we are left as an adult to deal with all this trauma that's been lying dormant for years, you know, and I could definitely relate to that, you know. So let me ask you this. What was it like? What steps did you begin to take to where you were able to like gain the closure that you needed?
well, I guess the steps that you know what? One day I woke up. The title is called "Chosen on Purpose. God is Intentional." And my biological mother and we used to have disagreements. So we had this really bad argument. And she would say periodically, like, oh, you know, I didn't have to have you. I didn't have to have you. So she has said it, like, she has said it to me probably about 4 or 5 times in my life. And I remember one time my uncle was present, one of my uncles that I'm really close with. And he said, you had nothing to do with her. He was like, what? He was like, you was a minor. Mama was the one that got to you from the hospital. You know, but because she kept saying, I didn't have to have you. Like, you know, I could have aborted you. I didn't have to have you. And so it would come up, but it was meant to be harmful, hurtful. And when she used to say that, it used to hurt me. You know, no matter how confident you are, no matter how you feel that you have arrived, but sometimes you have trigger words or you have the trauma, it takes you right back to the same spot. And you like, oh, I done took 10 steps backwards. Like, oh, I was a winner. And then you see yourself going back to the shell. But that particular time, my uncle was there. My uncle said, Mama and Daddy chose her. Mama chose Toya. And when he said it, I looked and I was like, wow, I was chosen. And so then she said it again afterwards, probably a couple months later. And God said, you was chosen on purpose because I am intentional. And I sat there and I was like, all these years, man, I felt resentment. I felt like, you know, she don't want me. And I said, God, the whole time you had my grandparents chose to raise me. And then that's in the book as well. And I was just like, okay, when you have your baby, the nursery, they present you with your baby. I was like, man, my grandparents chose to raise me. And I said, God, life. When I was coming up as kids, I even had, you know, non-blood related aunties and uncles. You know how you call people aunts and uncles. They were in part of my life, take time out with me, you know, just encourage me, support me. And I said, God, all these years, I'm sitting here like having a pity party, want to be a victim. And I was chosen on purpose. And I was like, and then I thought about my parents, you know, the challenges and different things they had going on. And I was like, oh, Lord, I was like, I got issues. I was like, boy, if my parents would have raised me, I would have been really jacked up. So it was just happened to be that particular day. And I was like, Lord, I thank you. I was like, oh, Lord, thank you they ain't raised me because I would have been totally jacked up. And I say it jokingly, but I had to think about it. I was like, man, I'm sitting here like, I done lost something. I'm like, actually, I won.
And you know what? It's something that God bringing to me right now is because if we only go surface deep, right? We always, well, I ain't gonna say we always, but a lot of times we tend to navigate based on our feelings and our emotions, right? And in that, we just see the big picture, right? It looks like my mama didn't want me this, that, and the other, but the whole time it was disguised. You know, it was God's protection disguised, because let's say you would have been ruined. I mean, you would have been raised by them, then you could have been ruined, you know, or let's say it would have been an unsafe environment, or, you know, you could be somewhere with a nervous breakdown, or maybe not even like, you never know, you know. And then it's such a blessing to have an additional set of like parents, you know, to step up to the plate after they've already raised their kids, or you know, and are willing to step up to the plate and raise even more, you know, because like my grandparents raised me and my sister a lot, you know, when my parents wasn't doing what they were supposed to do, you know, and I'll always and forever honor them for that, you know, because it's like you guys raised y'all kids and then y'all even raised y'all kids, you know, and while we were with y'all made sure we had everything we need, you know, and needed, you know, and so sometimes it don't feel, I ain't gonna say sometimes, a lot of times it don't be feeling good, you know, it'll hurt your feelings, you know, but God is sitting back like, you know, I got a bigger plan, you know.
Exactly.
You know, yeah.
I think it's how we you know, how you process stuff. Like I was talking to my aunt today, and my aunt and I, we talk a lot about our days, and we share a word with each other. And I told her, I was laughing. I said it jokingly because I have a sense of humor. I like to laugh. And that's one thing too. God, he accepts you for who you are. Mm-hmm. You know? So can have a good time and laugh. He will use humor. He will humor you. Like, oh, I told you not to do that. You know, you hard. So he'll do stuff jokingly, but a lot of times he'll prove a point. Yeah. So I told my aunt, I said, you know what? I said, girl, Satan probably sitting on his popcorn looking at us. I said, he be looking at people like the stories, like, child, they don't even have a clue. And so we was talking about how we have God's promises. It's there, his favor. You have everything. And then you turn around and go do something totally different. And God be like, what are you doing? And then I say, Satan be like, see, I ain't got to do nothing. See that? Oh, man, look at them. She don't even have a clue. God already did that for her. Oh, he already did that for them. Look at going doing 4-5 different projects. God said, see, he told her to go to the left. Now she way over on Right Street. Supposed to be on Left Street. Supposed to be up there on Washington Road. She down there on North Avenue, you know. And I say, Satan just eat his popcorn saying, they don't have a clue. Like, oh, man. And that's what happens a lot of times when you in or you're going through something. And I want to say when you're going through at that time, when you're in the healing process, well, we got to realize it's a process. So you accept where you are. You know, you have to accept where we are and definitely find the positive.
But you know what God showed me as far as like the whole healing process, right? What he showed me was like, number one, so that we should have more grace for ourselves, right? And in the space that we're in our healing process. Because oftentimes, like, we'll look at the end result or look and, you know, we'll be looking like, I want to be there already. You know, I want to be completely healed already. But you got to think about it. The longer that you're broken, the more time and stuff it's going to take to heal. And healing is literally like an onion because it's layers and layers and layers to pull back. You know, it's been times where I'll be spending time with God and he'll bring something up to my remembrance that I forgot completely about, you know, and sometimes I'm like, God, wow, you know, that one hurted, but what he showed me is he got to bring it up and out. You know what I'm saying? It's got to come back to the surface for him to be able to pull it out, you know, and he don't rush the healing process because, you know, that would be traumatic too.
That's true.
You
that
know?
is. And you know what? I'm happy you said that because what also came to my mind is a lot of times we talk about the woman with the issue of blood. And when Jesus said that faith has made thee whole. But that lady was facing that for 12 years. Think about it. And, you know, a lot of times I was looking at it from another perspective at first. I was like, man, 12 years when something that happened to us, we go through it a couple of days or a month. Don't let it be 4 or 5. Oh, girl, we through. Oh, God, I'm tired. I'm not done yet. And I was just, lady went through that 12 years. We want, you know, we be like, oh God, I'm uncomfortable. Why this so weak? Lord, won't go through this. I thought I was further along. Why is this and that? And I was like, man. So sometimes we gotta be willing, like you said, it's a process, be willing to stand. And healing, you know, it's like when you have a wound, because that's what it is actually, when you have trauma, you know, we look at physical wounds and when we go to the emergency room or you'll apply first aid, but that's what when you're healing from a trauma or a traumatic or emotional, mental or social, whatever it is, you gotta think about it. You gotta keep applying the first aid kit. And that's whatever the tools and the steps are. But first, definitely the word. You got to be grounded in the word of God, believe his word, receive his word, and apply the word. So therefore, and it's a first aid kit. And sometimes when we're healing, we think because we did something one day, tomorrow, the next day, or whatever, next week, we ain't gotta do nothing. And so what happens is when it becomes effective, when something happens, you be like, oh, how I get out there? Because the wound is still here. I'm not healed. And because you applied a little Neosporin one day, it ain't healed, boo. You gotta keep going until it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's it. Trauma. That's how, emotional, mental, social, whatever it is. Keep applying it. And as time go on, we're gonna progress. And you take any progress that you get because it's a win and it's an improvement and you're closer to being whole. So, that's how I look at it.
That's good. You know what? I'm gonna share something with you. So not long ago, I was spending time worshiping God and in my secret place. And no, as a matter of fact, let me run that back. I was driving down the street worshiping, and God had brought another episode of like from when I was a little girl, like just a time in my life when I was just really hurting, right? And he showed me in the spirit, like as I'm driving, he showed me in the spirit myself as a little girl, but like all the trauma and stuff that had happened to me was like manifesting on my body as like physical wounds. And he was like kneeled down right on the side of me, but he had this first aid kit. It was sitting right before him. He was down on one knee and he was like right next to me. And it was different spiritual attributes of his spirit though, like his different characteristics. They were different, like tools in the first aid kit, and he was using them to apply to me, and it was just crazy. It was just so crazy. I'm like, hey, so I had to pull over, I got the tripping out there to pull over. But that's exactly how it works, that's exactly how it works.
So true. That is so true. You're right here. And, when you say that, he will do it. He would just, if you're open, God will meet you wherever. Because there's times when mine is always, I call it non-traditional. You know how people have steps and this. I'm like, God talking to me like, look here, LaToya. Okay, you need to do this. Come on, let's sit down. I'm like, oh God, for real? So it's your relationship, So everybody's own may not be the same, or you and God, y'all conversations or how y'all conversate and spend your time together may not be, or y'all, but the fact is you spend time and listen, and he will give you the revelation and allow him to heal you. Mm-hmm. Allow him to do, it's like the potter wants to put you back together again. And I think about that, especially because we have pieces. We got pieces with cracks in them. We got some pieces that got dents, broken. Might have a little handle broken, half hanging on. You got some little cracks. You be like, oh, it ain't totally came open yet, but we got a little crack that's going down the line. And so as long as we allow him to put us back together, then we good.
Yeah.
We good.
And you know what I've learned about God, you kind of, it's just like, it's like riding in the car, and when he trying to take us somewhere, we just keep grabbing the wheel, right? When really all we need to do is just sit the seat back and just chill.
That's true. And let me tell you, it's so funny. I remember, I don't know what I was going through, because it's like I be going through stuff. I'm in the car, be like, Lord, what if I do this? If I do this? Because stuff would come through my mind. And when I say stuff come through my mind, but I realized it was from my childhood. I never wanted to be a burden on anybody. So it's like stuff would happen, and I'm like, oh, before this happened, let me go do this, let me do that. So I get busy. You understand what I'm saying? Be totally, hey, what you're not supposed to be. So I was in the car driving, and my mind goes like, when stuff happens, I used to be like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, be proactive. But as time went on, when I learned this, we gotta heal. I have no control over anything. I don't control the day I was born, the time, or anything. So I have to take it to God. So I was driving, taking a detour, trying to find this place. Girl, I'm detouring, going through, and I'm like, oh, where's this place? So I start having to look. It's the stop sign on fire. And I'm like tripping. I'm like, I see the stop sign burning. I'm like, God, you got a sense of humor. he was like, stop. He was like, girl, I told you how many times to stop. So I was like, okay, so you ain't gave me the burning bush experience. You gave me the burning stop sign experience. For a long time. And it's funny, but that's how he communicate. He communicate with you in your language, you know? And he's really good with me with metaphors. I have to have like, I'll be like, oh my God, you're right. Because he be like, don't do this. I'm like, oh, okay. He be like, ain't nothing. I didn't give you that assignment. I told you to do one thing. You know what, I did 5 things. And so he'll have to show me like a metaphor or something, or he'll show me, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He'd be like, girl, I'll tell you the whole time. But you know, when I say God is awesome. And it's
he sure is. And you know what? People like one of my biggest misconceptions, I didn't mean to interrupt you, was that God wants us to be a busybody all the time, right? And when you just had mentioned like about yielding, right? That's where I still told at. Like I still have a hard time with it because I be feeling like I don't want to be idle. You know what I'm saying? I'd be feeling like I could actually be doing something. You know, I don't want to be sitting on idle time. But one thing that God has shown me is like, it's okay to rest. You know, it's okay to just slow up a bit and, you know, like don't overwork yourself, you know, and that could be one of the hardest things for us to do, you know. And one thing that God has shown me is like some people, you know how some people don't be knowing if they're hearing the voice of God or not, right? One of the main things that God showed me is he's not going to be, I mean, yeah, he will drop, let's say he drops a word on us and you could feel that urgency behind the word he dropped, right? But God is gentle and he's not like, you know, he's not going to rush us. You know, he's really patient. And if you know, like I know, gotta have you waiting and waiting and waiting on some stuff. You hear me? Waiting, okay? So he don't be just rushing us and hurry up and do this, hurry up and do that. Now, it has been times where he done spoke to me with urgency and you can feel the urgency, you know? But other than that, God is, you know, he teaches you how to have patience. And he teaches you, you know, to just live in the now. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about none of that. Just live in the now and just slow down, you know?
That's true. You know what? Because when you don't embrace what you are, when we're someone else, we're missing the present. And so to be present, a lot of times is when you're learning, you're gathering your tools. And it's funny you say that because I'm on my healing journey right now. When I say I'm on a physical healing journey with my body. And of course, by stripes, I'm healed, but this has been since September. And I've had time, you know, I'm still reflecting. And it was so funny. I had a conversation with my aunt. I talked to her a lot. And like I said, God has put people in my life, that, man, they encourage me. We bounce the word and talking to them and listening. I be like, man, I didn't think about it like that. But he'll do that too. He'll send people. But one thing we have to realize is, like you said, it'll be a sense of urgency. And usually when he gives you a sense of urgency and he say, do it now, he has everything lined up. Like if he said, do ABC. Like, matter of fact, you probably say she always go back to her book, but how I wrote my book, people told me, they was like, girl, you need to write a book. People tell me that for years. But I had a house fire. So my house completely burned down. And I went to meet one of my friends. What did they give? They gave me a blood pressure. They was like, I'm gonna meet you. I'm giving this blood pressure machine and everything. So they were like an hour away. I wouldn't be out the house that time of night, especially I had just went through a fire. Girl still got the smoke running on me. Didn't know that. You walk around like, what the smell is? But anyway, so I went to meet them and I said, I don't want to go to this Walmart this time of night. It was like 9 something, out of the ordinary time that I normally go to this Walmart. Most I'll be in the house. And I went in, so I was in line. I had some kitty litter in my car. And I said, but God had already said, and he had sent people before, but at that time, it wasn't time for me to do that book. It was the seed that was planted. So somebody said, you need to write a book. So it had came back up again, like, you need to write a book. So anyway, back to me being in Walmart. Oh yeah, it was my birthday too. I forgot about that. It was my birthday, actually my birthday. So I had this kitty litter. So it was a young lady that was in the line. They about to close down the Walmart. I'm in the line because I forgot. I didn't have no toothbrush or toothpaste. only had what the Red Cross they gave me. And I was like, Tom, I need to go buy me out my regular toothpaste, just buy, instead of using the Red Cross toothpaste at all. So that's what I call myself going in for. So anyway, young lady was in line, she had some cat food. And I asked her, I said, hey, I got some kitty litter in my car, you can have it. And I told her, I said, I originally bought it for my bird, my daughter's bird. I said, but we had a house fire, so everything burned and the cage and everything, so I don't need it. And she said, what? I said, yeah, my house completely burned down. I said, but I got the kitty litter. There's nothing wrong with it. I got it from Target. I told her, I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It just happened to be in the car and didn't make it to the house. And she was like, what? So anyway, long story short, so we checking out. She said, okay, I'll meet you. I said, yeah, I'll park right there. So she made me to my car. And as I was giving the kitty litter, she said, you need to write a book. And at that time, this young lady had a publishing company. And so she was doing courses and classes, encouraging. She still does it to this day. And so it was like that. She said, I'm going to give you my information. You need to write a book. She said, I was encouraging to help you. So at that time, I had a accountability partner. I met some amazing people. And from her telling her story, it helped me. And I think I wrote that book in less than 2 months. I'm talking about written, published, everything. And it was like, because it was then. And God was like, this is the time now. And he told me what to put in, what not to put in. The fire wasn't there, but it was things that from my childhood. And when you said he'll tell you now, because I had to get to a point, even when I was like, man, event by event, with my mom, because if I would have wrote it in the past, it would have been different. Girl, that chapter with daddy and mom, and my dad died in prison. My daddy actually died in prison. So, it was like, girl, I think it would have been different. It would have came from an embarrassed place, almost like, okay, why did you do this? Yeah, my dad died in prison, but it would have came from a total different perspective when now it's a breakthrough. I've been through it, God brought me through. So this is the now. And it was a sense of urgency. I mean, I will be up like at night. I've always been a writer, like to write, but it was just God would just like, okay, I can't go to sleep. Let me get this, let me get that. And in 2 months it was done. And then also it's been things that he have dealt with me with, and he'll tell you when he be like, okay, I want you to do this, but then you have steps, or he'll prepare you and he'll say, okay, well, you're gonna go this route. Because I think I look at it, everything I've been through prepared me for a position when I worked for the state of Georgia DFAC. And I'm still trying to, how you be still trying to figure out. I have people asking, girl, took that job, like different things. But God had it for a time. He had me to be there for a time for the children. And I thank him for the children lives that I was able to be in. They touched my life. They touched my life as well as I hope I touched their lives. But I was able to see everything that I've been through in my childhood, to see the effect of it. To see like, wow, man, how I am the product. And I would like to tell the children, I say, hey, you gonna be okay. And I tell them, I was you. And they be like, how was you me? And I'm like, look, I was you. And to be able to see and say, it's gonna be okay. God gonna bring you through. And then let them know, like, look, it gonna be days we're gonna mess up. He knew this, he knows this. And I was like, but it's his grace. And to tell the children that it's his grace. And I guess what I've been through and what we go through, to let people know this is a lifestyle. This ain't no act. This ain't no play. This ain't no phony thing. This is real. And God made us to be who we are, to embrace who we are. It's no certain, people like, oh, you gotta do step A, B, C, D. No, we don't the curse no more, baby. It's grace. So we are free to be who ourselves, free to be who God intended for us to be. And definitely as long as we stay in him. And to the potter made us, he put us together. So God knew the things that he put in us. Like, sometimes you're like, oh girl, you're a little bossy. Girl, try that bossy thing. Come get out of the flesh and get into God. You're a leader. You understand what I'm saying? And so just to be able to embrace our attributes and realize that it's good.
And you know what? Because for a while, for months, God was dealing with me. He kept bringing the words authenticity and authentic up before me, right? And he just kept bringing them two words up before me, right? And I would say, God, what you trying to say? What you trying to tell me? And then when he started giving me the revelation, it was just like he wants us to be our true authentic selves, right? Is often this misconception that you got to be all, this religious misconception that you got to dress a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, all this stuff. And then when you get to know God intentionally, he completely like shatters that whole ideology, right? Because when I started walking with him, he like, you don't got to do none of that. Like, I just want you to be you. And like you said, he know I have my days when I got an attitude. He know when I ain't really, feeling it. Um, but let me ask you this. I know, like, with thinking, like, when going back to thinking about the stuff that you've been through with your childhood, are there ever any days like when you go to work and you become emotional because you see these children going through some of the same stuff that you went through at their ages?
I used to, because of the fact I've been sick, so I haven't worked since September. Have not been in defects, but when, definitely the cases and different things, and one thing I'm gonna say, man, those children taught me a lot. And when I say, man, the kids, a lot of the children that I met, they're exceptional children. When I say exceptional, we see adoption, you see this, and we want to capitalize on the trauma they've been through. And one of the things too, I was an anomaly because I do not have a social work degree. I don't have no social sciences degree. I was a business major. So I was already coming in, they looking like, what's she doing? So my perspective was totally different. Even with the doctors, the medical professionals, when they coming in, oh, they got this. I'm like, no, that's a lie. That's a curse. But to get back to it, yes, I realized how generational curses operates unless it stops. So, you look at, a lot of times we look at the surface. So by the time I met this child, look at their case history, and it's like, God, what happened? But then I look back and you say, okay, mama had trauma that was never resolved. And you say grandma had trauma. So you may look and see it's 4 or 5 generations of stuff. And you're like, man. And yeah, my dad, I looked at my father, dying in prison. My dad, my dad was a preacher's kid, but hey, he did what he did. He was off the chain. And I looked at that, how I was gonna say, like, some of his uncles, I was told that he had my dad's mom brothers had died early from alcohol. They was alcoholics, different stuff. So drug dependency ran heavy on my dad's side of the family. So when I would see the children and see how different things dependency, and what happened is I chose early on just not to never try to drink or do drugs or anything, because I was like, hey, that's a dependency runs in my family, because my daddy was on it. I lost some uncles to it. Thank God I got an uncle now. He's on fire for Christ, but he was on drugs for years. He was a crack addict for years, but God restored him. But when I look at the children, I saw the generation. I saw how the bondage can go from generation to generation and generation and continue to go on if nobody stops it, if it's not stopped. So yeah, it took me back, because I'm gonna say this. I guess when I looked at, even when my father died when I was 14 going to 15, God always been good to me. He always showed me favor. I remember that phone call. I got it that Monday morning. I was going back to school because my oldest uncle, my mom's brother, had got into a chemical accident. So I was already at school the whole week. And so when I was going to return back to school, my dad got a phone call. My dad died. So I remember sitting on my front porch that morning. And they said my book too. I remember sitting on my front porch. And I felt like my world had stopped. But my neighbors were still backing out their yard. The school bus was still driving by. People was walking down the street. They still blowing the horns. People still laughing. I'm like, my world has stopped. And God showed me, and he said, you knew your father. even though my dad wasn't perfect. And that's how, when I saw the kids, the children, because I had a lot of children in my caseload, their parents died early, or parents died for drug overdose, or parents was into that life. And so it took me back to my childhood. But one thing I was able to, God had told me, I had already healed. He put me in a healing place to tell them, you're not responsible for what your mom and dad did. Because your parents was drug addicts, don't mean you have to grow up like that. And so I used to share a lot of my personal stories, because sometimes, and I noticed when you're real, the kids, they listen. Because people used to ask me, well, Miss Jackson, how these kids calling you, telling you this? I can't get through. I said, because they want somebody to listen. Everybody wants somebody to be real. Real, recognize real. And I said, ain't no time to be fake, ain't no time to be phony. You understand what I'm saying? And if we think about it, in the garden, with Adam and Eve, see, they was naked, right? After they ate from the tree, that's when they try to hide their stuff with clothes. So we can sit here and put all the stuff on, put makeup, everything, try to hide yourself, baby. The real you still gonna come out. Because see, when God created, we was naked. Remember Adam, they tried to hide, and God was like, wait a minute, where you at? What you mean you naked? And so that's how now we put on, we sit down, holier than thou, I'm gonna wear my dresses. Oh, you got on jeans? You always wear jeans. Yeah, because I like jeans, because I rock jeans. Never know, I'll be like, hold on now, don't make me go on, be like, hold on, don't make me, be like, Lord, help me. So, and just, I walk faster in jeans sometimes. I got my days, I got my little dresses and stuff on, but to say that, we're naked, and to be real, and the back to the kids, it just helped me. And I'm at a place now, but I had to get there, and God always had favor. He always favored me and was like, at least you know your father. You had children, or you had people who didn't know their dad. And he was like, okay, yeah, your dad died when he was 14, 15, but my dad had to have real conversations. They have G conversations. I didn't understand at the time, like, dude, you know how old I am? But that's how he knew how to communicate. That's how he knew how to love. I can't judge him if that was his love language. But all I can do is appreciate it. So yeah, with the children, they took me back to my dad. They took me back to losing a parent early. They took me back to seeing my dad, like, oh, here you come. What is dude doing today? Yeah, I got a phone call. You in jail. Like, dude, what you doing? You gonna get it together? And it took me back there, but it took me back to a spot where I can share with the children and say, it may look like this now, but baby, that don't mean this how it's gonna end. And it allowed me to let them know, be proud of who you are, who you came from. Because I went through years like, oh my God, I can't tell them who my dad is. My dad was so bad. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm proud of my father. I got that, I got that roughness from my dad. I'm like, hold on, I'm nice and everything, but don't, And it's like, it was a time and a place for that. And so, the DFACS time, it really opened my eyes. What it did, it made me realize that we need more people. And when I say more people, we need more of us, more Christians, more people that when you on your walk, just be real. Ain't no sense in being phony about it. Ain't no sense in being like, oh, no, you ain't holier than thou. You understand what I'm saying? We all saved by grace. We all are work in progress. Only Jesus is perfect. Be real, and that's what it has taught me, to be more open and to share, to share. And that's another reason why I'm on this podcast. I usually don't do podcasts or do anything, because I used to be like, oh, I want to be by myself, leave me alone. Now I talk to people one-on-one. But I know that together as a group, and your testimony will help somebody else break through. Because sometimes you feel like you're the only one that's going through or been through, and the world will make you feel like something wrong with you. Like you're broken, and of course they want to discard you. And God said, come on, God, I got you. Come on, I knew this was going to happen. Come on, let me put that, let me platter this on you. They're like, oh, let me pat you and get you back together. He's like, come on, come back in the cocoon. Let me get you together. Let me shine you up and see you back on your way.
And I still have a lot of days like that. I be like, God, I don't want to go back out there. Come get in here, get me together. But that's the beauty, that's the beauty. I don't have to, because once God showed me, like, I'm like, he validates me just like this. I don't have to be, like you said, holier than thou. And you know what? I'm to be real, like you said, God dealt with me about being a Bible thumper. Like, don't drop verses in every conversation. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Because you got people that are church hurt, or people that are or have been hurt by, quote unquote, like people of God. There have been a lot of people who have been like judgmental of others, who label themselves as Christians or followers of Christ. So just the mention of God or the Bible or Jesus, can scare a lot of people off. And that's not what we do. That's not what we want to do. Sometimes the ministry is just loving on people, being a listening ear, hugging a person, helping a person out. Um, I was having a conversation. I was conversing with somebody not long ago, and they were saying that we're supposed to display the characteristics of God without, people really knowing that. You're just supposed to be love, and that's really like just made me appreciate God even more. You know what I'm saying? Because he sit high, but he get right here on our level. Like, he meet us, like you said, meet us right where we are. And you just feel so validated and valued and appreciated. I've never felt so appreciated in my life, So let me ask you this. Let's say we have a listener or some listeners who are the generational curse breakers of their family, right? We know that can be a very lonely and hard road. What type of words of encouragement would you give to that listener?
What came to my mind is, if God be for me, who will be against me? Because I use that a lot. And when I say not use it a lot, stand on it, because it's going to be times you'll be standing by yourself. And, not going to say standing by yourself in the physical, but God is going to always be there. He said he never leave us or forsake us, even when it feel like everybody's against you. Because, in my family, sometimes my family will be like, oh, you just come different. Or sometimes I may say things that's not accepted the way that I wanted it to be accepted. But then I had to realize, like, oh, okay, I can't worry about how you accept it. I have to do what God tell me to do and what's right. Because once it's been open, once you see the light, you got to go with. That's like, for instance, I'm gonna say it to a fruit. Okay, if it's you got a pear. I don't know why I'm thinking about it, but you got a pear in your refrigerator, and you know that pear that went bad. Are you still gonna eat it if it's rotten? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like food. You still gonna eat rotten food. So you got to throw it out, right? In the discard it and put it in the trash. And so I had to think about it like that. It's okay. Look, you may not stop it like I wish you would have, but I had to tell you, and you have to operate in integrity. And because we're the righteous of God, and once God shows the revelation, man, we're responsible for it. You're responsible for that. So all the times you're not gonna, the people that you think are gonna rock with you and stand with you, not gonna be there. And I learned that even when I wrote my book. I didn't put anything in there derogatory or offensive to anybody or expose anybody. It was all about breakthrough. But I had some people really close to me that didn't receive it like I thought they would. Matter of fact, I didn't even read it. You didn't read it, so how you gonna attack something you didn't read? And another thing that I learned, because somebody holds a title in your life, does not mean that's who God intended for them to be in your tribe. You understand what I'm saying? But see, here's some people that's not blood related, but word related. I talk to a lot of people that's not family members. We're not blood related, but we word related. We on this walk together, real transparent. And there's times when stuff be happening, they'll call me. I don't even have to say anything. They be like, sis, God told me about what's going on with you. Why you answer this phone today? I'll be like, oh, they'll pop up to my house. Like instance, after I had the house fire, one of my aunts, she's not blood related, word related, and she was someone, grew up, she used to date my uncle. And she said, I gotta put my eyes on you. She drove 4 hours, put her eyes on me to see me. When I had other family members who didn't even call, even to this day, they still ain't said, hey, how y'all doing after the fire? You understand what I'm saying? Somebody that blood related, really close, to this day, I haven't seen them. They ain't never said, hey, I know y'all lost all y'all pets. Oh, you okay? Oh, well, when you okay, not even. So to say that, man, it's gonna happen. it's gonna happen. And think about this: Jesus had 12 disciples, right? How many miracles and everybody else he saved? He came to save the world. He had 12, right? Everything Jesus done and everything, he had 12. And then out of the 12, you saw who rocked with him, who was really down with him to the end, right? So, you know, how do we expect? And they saw him. They was there present, seeing him, you know, in the like doing these miracles, and they still turned on him or was like, oh, he only had 12, you know, feel like he should have had thousands of people. You be like, wait a minute, he just turned that water into wine. I'm down with him. But it didn't go that way. So that's be willing to stand. Gotta be willing to stand and know that God is always with you. Even when people ain't with you, if you stand, it's gonna work out. And you're gonna be able to sleep at night. You know, because that's your calling. All of us ain't called to be you're a leader. When you're a leader, you held accountable. The gift, the anointing, the skill, man, it's gonna be days you'll be in the trenches. It's gonna be days you'll be like, oh God, I'm in the car. You'll be like, these people getting on my nerves. But I know I gotta go on this meeting and tell them A, B, C, D. And then even though sometimes we may be reluctant, but God will give you that boldness. You be bold. And he'll give you that, and then you be like, freedom. And you're like, oh, God is good. And you just walking. That's how it is. And I guess what happened is I had to get released from people bondage. Because I've been church hurt. I was when I first got saved, you know, told me wearing jeans, and I'm like, what? And they were like, I went to a church. People brought me in the front. I had on some culottes shorts, right? I had on culottes. They wasn't tight. They wasn't Daisy Dukes or nothing on no biking shorts. You know, I had on some nice little culottes came to my knee. Those people had a prayer talking about they gonna get the demon, Holy Ghost fire demon out of me. And I was still sitting there like, well, where the demon at? It was me. You know, I was like, hold on. But then it taught me, like, do not let anybody just lay hands on you, you know. So that scripture became real. I was like, these people talking about me. I was like, about the devil. What? They're slapping people around, oil, and all this. I said, stuff for work. The devil. Oh, they were saying I was trying to creep. I was like, speaking stuff I ain't talking to. I was like, oh. No, but I say it jokingly. It's a laugh now because I get a lot of humor and different stuff, but people bondage. Can't worry about people. Because when whoever God called, God equipped, and he's the attention of God. Because we're chosen on purpose, and God is intentional. And so a lot of times, when we get called, our calling, our purpose, we can't run from it. We can't deny it. Now it may be delayed now sometimes because we may go off to the left. Like, you know, I gotta stop going to the left. But we ain't gonna be denied because he gave us this purpose. It's our purpose, it's God's dream. And that's what's been on me, living God's dream. I'm living the will of God for my life. He predestined me from the womb. So therefore it will be manifested in this life. And that's what we have to realize. And so even when we got to stand by ourselves, God knew this. This was part of his dream, so he equipped us. And God is not an emotional God. He's not emotional. But there's times when, especially during my healing journey, he was days I'm like, oh Lord, you want me to get up? And he'd be like, that's the symptom of that dis-ease in your body. He'd be like, by your stripes you were healed. I'd be like, but this fire thing through my stomach is really kicking. He was like, get up and sit up. You know, and he was like, I'm not moved by emotion. And as I started grasping that, it was like getting phone calls like, hey, your bladder is healed. No, that's not cancer. Hey, they gone. But this life, man, it's a lifestyle. And you know, like I said, we're gonna have times when we ain't gonna, you know, gonna be like, Lord, what is this? And he's like, girl, you don't get off that ground and get up. But he'll pull you up. And no matter how many times, as long as we keep getting up, keep bouncing, keep rolling with him, we're going to be okay. And a lot of times when you think you by yourself, he'll send somebody. He'll send somebody to help you. When you least suspect it. People that you don't even think. People that you don't even know. Even sometimes your enemy. Yeah. Oh my goodness. One of my enemies. Excuse me. I'm not just say making enemies your footstool. I'm sorry. I don't call a person my enemy, but it's I'm gonna be honest, my daughter's dad. And we have had some really Ooh, girl, we had some time. But doing my healing journey, he called me one day, and I was like, oh my God, here it is. Should I answer the phone? I was like, boy, Lord, I ain't ready for this today. You know, I'm thinking like, okay, he gonna go back. And he called me, and he talked it really positive. Matter of fact, he paid for my medical procedure. That was the last person I affected. Because I was sitting there saying, okay, God, the Emory said they need this, they need that. Okay, now how does this work? And it was like probably about 2 hours later, I was like, oh, I don't need him calling. You know what I mean? Because, and, you know, I was kind of shocked. I was like, what? I was like, you gonna do what? I ain't even had to ask. I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, I know you've been, you know. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. This is the same person that you know, that had to tuck me back. Sometimes when you on the phone, it would take me back years. You know, until I had this, I'd be like, oh, Lord, it's the healing. God, I'm healed for this. You know, be like, Lord, I'm ready for this. And God will do it. He will do it. So just stay encouraged. That's all I'm saying. Encouraged. Stay encouraged. Stand on the word. No matter what, no matter how it may look, no matter how it seems, don't give up. God will never leave you. He will not lie. His word is not a lie. And so, as long as we got that, we good. And just accept yourself. That's it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you could go back and speak to the younger version of you, what would you say to her?
Girl. I would say to her, I look at, no, I would say to her, everything that you did, I did it to be at this place that I am now. And when I say that is, girl, out there. You know, I had gift of gab kind of quick. It was when you are living recklessly, you're gonna do reckless things. When you don't understand that God is love, don't know what love is, you're gonna do stuff that's reckless to yourself, to other people that's involved. They're gonna be affected by that. To my younger self, I would say that when we're young, well, when you know better, you do better. And once you're taught, or you should grasp on it and see behavior changes and life change. So therefore, you will, you know, this will pass. This is not who you're gonna maintain and be. And it's okay, but what it does is it allow you to be able to relate and understand. Because I think one of the reasons and one of the ways that I'm able to when I say not to be in people bondage, identify with people, then especially with a younger generation, because man, I lived a life. I was out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's quick to be like, oh yeah, I didn't do some of the stuff. But no, I did a lot of stuff. But what I understood is, okay, I did that. Even though my intentions were supposed to be good and all that, but it was like, oh, it was fun and this and that. And even growing up as, you know, I go to church. My grandfather was a bishop. Then my grandmother's side, you know, my great grandmother, she was an overseer, founded the church and everything. So it's like it was there, but I was doing other stuff. And I understand and be like, it's okay. It's okay. You're gonna be okay. God got you. And so I embraced everything I did. It got me to this point here now, and to be able to listen to people and not judge people. Because a lot of times, you know, people open up, and I thank God for it. He let me come from a perspective, not only with his word, but I understand, because I'm like, I lived that. I've been through that. I know, oh man, what happened? Yeah, I've been through that too. So I know how it is. When you know, you're going through this and people say this or that happened, and you trying to figure out, okay, what I'm gonna do now? And it allowed me to be able to help. And so what I would tell my younger self is, are you going through this? You experiencing this right now? But as you get older, girl, you're gonna be able to help somebody, bring them through it, and y'all gonna get to y'all expected end. So that's what I would tell myself, even though it's crazy, but this crazy is gonna turn around to work out in your behalf and for your good.
Absolutely. That was good. So, a couple more questions. So, I know you've been speaking about your book. So, you want to tell us a little bit more about your book and where everyone can find it?
I'm gonna bring my book. The name of my book is Chosen on Purpose, God is Intentional. And you can find it on Amazon. It is on Amazon. And it's LaToya Jackson. Chosen on Purpose, God is Intentional. You can get it on Amazon. And also I have on my website, LaToyaJackson.company.com. And my book, it talks about the journey of how we overcome, how you're gonna go through things, and but you're expected to overcome. And everything that you go through in life, it is there to refine you, to build you, and to prepare you for levels and different steps in your life before your calling. And so I think about like a box, I don't know why I put stuff in boxes. Like I like to group stuff together. Like if it's something we're writing, I have my pens, my pads, my journals, and I put tops on it. When you organize, you try to organize and keep stuff together. That's gonna, you're not gonna put food with pens and journals because they don't go together. So I think about it like that. It's like the things we go through because it's tools. You learn from it. God take you through and He bring you through it because He know that someone else is gonna go through, and that you can be there to encourage, support, and to say, hey, you're not alone. Because sometimes we got to go in and help other people. When you see somebody, wait a minute, God said, go help her. Go stand with her. You've been through that. And so the book is about to let you know that you can go through. And also, a lot of times we think that we're the only ones that's going. And so I wrote the book because I used to meet people that was comfortable. And even when I was doing business, I would meet people and we just be so confident, oh yeah, my skills, we have a business meeting. And a lot of times I'll be like, well, hey, where you from? And they're like, oh, I'm from so-and-so. I'll be like, really? I'm like, because I'm Southern. So my grandfather used to always tell people, especially being from Savannah, my granny used to always say, well, who your people? So he meets somebody and they come to the house. My granny ain't trying to find out who their family is, because 9 times out of 10, he knew the people, right? My granny be like, well, who your people? Oh, you came to the Williams? Wait a minute, you came to the Williams down the street? And so I got that from him. So a lot of times interacting with people, and I'll be like, well, hey, okay, well, you're from so place. Do you know these people? What was your family? And then I would get when I would see, they'd be like, well, I don't know. And I would see, how they would withdraw. And I'd be like, wow, this confident person, but that's the area needs to be healed. And then it was like, wow. And so, Chosen on Purpose, when I wrote it at that time, that was even before DFACS, before I worked with children that was an adoption sector. I wrote it because it was like you're chosen on purpose. God is intentional. Because whether your mama raised, whether your grandma raised you, your auntie raised you, and at that time I would meet so many people that be like, no, my grand auntie raised me, my parents that raised me. But I would see and I would hear it and I would see how they would be tracked. And it was like, man, you just gave this speech, you a CEO this 500, and I'm like, you going back to your childhood. And the book is just to encourage you, let you know, okay, you was chosen on purpose. God is intentional. God favored you. He put those people to raise you, because if we was raised by our parents, it would be totally different, because they had things they were still going through, their healing process. So God said they still kind of messed up, really messed up. Okay, I'm not gonna put this on top of this. I'm gonna favor you and give you somebody else that's a little more put together. You know what I'm saying? So you will have my love and my compassion, and you can understand that. Let them go through, but don't let it define you. And I have a chapter that say forever grateful, that I dedicated to my grandparents, because I'll always be forever grateful for them choosing to raise me. And it's a chapter of my father and daddy issues, because I realize a lot of us have mother and father issues. And until we realize that they have to deal with that healing part. Like my father, he's gone, but he had some things that he had to be healed from, and that was his journey, his walk. And sometimes as kids, we hold on to that. We take that burden on. For instance, I remember when Doe said, I ain't no Hercules when I pray. And she said, we take it on. We have our parents' bondage on us, on our shoulders. And you trying to walk and you be like, oh, mama, baby, your mama Gotta get that to God. You understand what I'm saying? Because he predestined each and every one of us. And so I did it. I held on to him like my daddy did. That was not my cross to bear, you know? And so we go through that. We hold on to a lot of things. And of course, the world wants you to do it. But because we walk in, we got enough stuff to give to God for him to deal with our own. And that's what it's about. It's about encouraging people. I even talk about when I had my daughter, I flatlined twice. I had my daughter, her father and I, we was not married. Yeah, we was not married. It was, I had my daughter out of wedlock. And I remember someone told my grandmother, she was giving me a baby shower. She's like, you can't get a baby shower, you need to be rebuking that devil out of her and telling her to get married. And for God to forgive you, but I had my daughter and I flatlined twice. I had health symptoms. So sometimes we feel like you're not worthy to be healed. I messed up. God knew he was gonna mess up. God still saved my life. I had help. Flatlined twice. Had a child out of wedlock. So because I had a child out of wedlock, sin, that still don't mean that his word won't work and he won't heal me. God healed me. He's a forgiving God. You understand what I'm saying? So we have a lot of, I talk about that because we have a lot of people, we walk around and because sometimes we feel like God promises don't apply to us. I did this. No, you didn't. You did that, but we had nothing with Jesus. We had nothing to do with Jesus coming in the form of a man. We had nothing to do with that. And that's when condemnation comes in. So I included that because I'm grateful because every year my daughter have a birthday, that's another year that I'm living, that I remember, man, God saved my life. I flatlined twice. Yes, this child out of wedlock. Yes, I was not married. Yes, I was saved, born again. Sin, you know, people are like, oh, she, you know, and I remember I got pregnant. I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I let my family down. I almost went through depression. And because I remember the day that I conceived my daughter. And that's how the brain, that's how condemnation works. Because it comes to get you off your gear. And so that's what the book is, it's about encouraging as many people as possible. Now, you know, we're not on this walk alone. God chose us. He equipped us. He made us enough. He know we can do it. We got to believe. We got to believe in God and believe in ourselves. And that's what it's about. Oh, and I have a t-shirt too. When I say, and my t-shirt is, that I'm developing, and that should be out next week. It's, called Living God's Dream. And, that's what our life is. As long as we realize that and believe in him to believe in ourselves, we're going to be okay.
Absolutely. I love that. And you know what? As I'm listening, well, first of all, God came in here and took over, and that's perfectly fine. But I want to bring you back up here for a second segment so you can share some more of your testimony because it was a lot that we didn't cover.
A lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot. I've been robbed at gunpoint. I've been in a bad car accident. I had to get cut out. Flatline with my daughter. The fire. Had this, you know, I escaped the burning house fire. Man, that was ordained because any other time I would have been doing something else. I wouldn't have been home. Man, my daughter jumped straight out her bed. That's the time we had. I was like, man, get up. The house on fire. She jumped straight out of her sleep. That ain't nobody but God.
Yeah. And you know what? To the I'm not gonna say to the average person, but to the carnal eye, right? It might look, some people be like, oh, what's wrong with her? She cursed and this, that, and the other. But if you on a spiritual walk, you know, when your hell wreak a lot of hell and when it's a lot of hell and havoc like that you know that God is close, right? And you know that ain't nothing but the devil, because I ain't gonna say it's nothing but the devil, because that will be giving him too much, you know, attention and glory. But I believe that a lot of that, well, some of it was him trying to take you out because he know that the purpose that you got on your life, right? But he has to continue to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, because God is like, you know, God keep blocking it. You know, he's keeping you here for a purpose and for a reason, you know, and he had you marked and all this was predestined, you know. And I can hear him now saying, like, I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. You know, it's all by design.
It is. And you know what, I'm gonna say this, I know we've been on long, but when you said that Because I had a lot of people that said that to me, a lot of Christians. You know, I had people that were like, oh, let me shy away from her. You know, you was good when all of my real estate, everything popping, you was making money. You understand what I'm saying? When stuff started happening. But when I realized, I looked at it then, see, the world look at your success.
Mm-hmm.
And like I tell my daughter, I said, we treat what man made better than what God made. We value that more. If somebody did your car, you up in the car and they don't care about if this person almost fell out or whatever, you know? So I dealt with a lot of that. People was like, I don't know what I'm talking about church saved folk. I had somebody in the minister called me and my family, you need to repent. You need to, I'm like, help for what? Excuse me. I'm like, what? I'm like, man, God saved me from I was in a car crash. It cut me out with no injury. 911 talking to me through my car saying, you can't be in that silver car. I'm like, yes, I am. They was like, are you hurt? No. They was like, you cannot have no injury. I'm like, yeah, I'm not injured. I'm laying on my seat. Once y'all come get me out, it'd be wonderful. You know, like, can y'all hurry up and get me out this car though? And they was like, oh, she can't be. She got to be in shock and everything. So they feeling me. I'm like, I'm good. How's the other people? And they're like, so I had people gonna tell me that I got sued after, you know, crazy. I'm like, how I get sued? And the victim of y'all lied twice. Some people was like, I don't know what you doing, and you need to repent. You need to go pray more. Y'all maybe you need to go start praying 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. Well, what word you reading? Well, you need to change your church. I'm like, what? You know, I'm serious. But what happened is, thank God God hadn't dealt with me with other things, but even that was coming. I was like, well, damn, what I'm doing, God? You know, like, well, Lord, I'm missing. Because it was just coming. And then people coming, and then they was like, well, you need to do this. And I almost took a position. I was about to take a position, totally out of line. Thank God for that. Because it was like, okay, money. Okay, now I need to pull, you know, like maybe I need to pull something to somebody because I am intelligent, I am smart, I do have these accolades, and I do have this, and I do have that. And God gave me this, and they was like, oh, what's going on in your life? You know, because then it was like, well, what's going on? Like, you know, you used to be the really, really smart ones. So my friends, doctors and all, you know, politicians, different people kind of like, you know, you used to be with them. I don't know what happened to you. And, you know, and people was like attacking me. And I was sitting there and I had to think about like, when God spared me from that car accident, that was God. That was a miracle. I had to realize like, I walked out and I looked at the pictures of the car. I'm like, man, I walked out unharmed. God bless me. And then I was saying to myself, I didn't need that car anyway. I was like, I was saying, I'm about it. God don't, but you know, I'm like, God told me not to get it. I got that for people. Got pressured into something. Didn't even go to the dealership to get it. So that was a blessing. I got robbed by gunpoint. I was minding my own business. They came to my house that I live in the back of community. That you had to know where you're going to come through. I was no club, no, you know. And people say, well, I don't know what you be doing, who you be around. Nobody. I looked at it as a blessing because he thought he was gonna kill me. And I was like, finally I was like, no. Because with long life, Jesus said to satisfy me. And I was like, no, you're not gonna kill me. And I kept saying, God, I don't deserve this for my daughter to grow up and to see me, you know, I'm like, no, this is not God. And I told the young man, I said, man, if you need anything, you needed help. I mean, I said, man, I'm the type of person, I would have prayed for you, would have gave you whatever I had and try to help you. But people will do it. People will attack you. And that's what I had to understand. Baby, this ain't your walk. God gave this to me. This is his dream for my life. You ain't going to understand it because it's not yours. You're on the outside looking in. And people do it. And so a lot of times, even when you're going through, and that's what I had to learn as well, you have some of us that's going through, you don't want to share because it's like, oh dang, what's going on with her now? You know what I'm saying? You know, like, okay, now what's happened? Like when I got sick in September, a lot of people I didn't tell. Well, I was gonna tell different people anyway, because some people are negative. And somebody talking about, oh my God, you gonna die. I was like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? They were like, oh, that's bad. They start crying on the phone. I'm like, what the hell? I said, crying? I was like, I can't talk to them no more, you know. But people say it. They'll judge you, but hey, it makes you stronger. And what it does, it prepare you for your calling. And that's what I had said. I said, okay, Lord, this right here, going through living things, I know what to tell somebody. I know how you feel when you get those tests results. Okay, God say this, God say that. Mine look like this, but look at me. I'm like, oh Lord, thank you. I'm like, now I got more people to witness too. And that's what you gotta look at it as. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, Satan ain't gonna stop. He gonna keep coming. We the ones that be stopping. You know, so we the ones that get tired and give up. He just keep coming, bumping his head. He keep bumping his head against the wall, and he keep coming. He been up bump his head, get back up, he come back to you. We been up bumping our head and go sit down, want to sit down for 2 or 3 months. He just keep going, and that's how we got to do.
You know, we sure do. We sure do. Okay, one more question. So if people want to work with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Okay, well, I have my website is LaToya, LaToya, spelled SELLS 01 at gmail.com. Also, I have LaToya Books, LaToyaBooks.com. So you can reach me at that particular website or LaToya 01 at Gmail. And hey, I even get my phone number out. Oh, you can even call me. I answer phone calls, believe it or not. My telephone number is 678-933-1976. Because I've sold real estate for years, so it's no secret. But that's how you can reach me. And it's all about encouragement. That's what it is. It's all about encouraging, being non-judgmental, and just being who you are, who God called you to be.
That's so true. I appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. And thank you for definitely letting me share. Thank you.
No problem. I got to get you back on here. Whenever you got time.
Whenever you're available, whatever fit in your schedule, when God tells you to bring me on, that's what we're doing.
Okay, yeah. I'm be like, God, is it time yet?
Tell us.
You know how he do his stuff. He just would drop you in my spirit one randomly. Well, I ain't gonna say randomly because ain't nothing about him random, but he'll just do it just one day while I'm minding my business.
Right, he will be. He'll be like, oh, it's time. Because sometimes he'll, you know, he have people, they'll call me, like, they'll check in and say, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, hey. And I may wake up, like, today I woke up, I'm like, Monday. Okay. Somebody called me and we just started laughing. When we started laughing, and we're just talking. And so a lot of times when you think you're helping somebody else, you're helping yourself. You know, and because I kept I was talking to someone and I told them, I said, last week I started feeling some of the symptoms was coming back from a procedure that I had. I'm like, wait a minute, God, I thought we didn't been through this. You know, what's going on? I got a time frame. Because I was like, by this time I'll be doing this, I'll be up and running. And I won't say it's a setback, but what? From me talking to them. And I almost was getting discouraged, but I was like, God, I'm grateful. Lord, I'm grateful for this walk. Because I was like, I looked at my body, I'm like, my steps are ordered by the Lord. So I took it as, okay, when they gave me the list of when I say everything was wrong. And that's the part I had to end up laughing about. Because at first, when I went to the hospital, I'm thinking this one thing. When I say everything was wrong, girl, everything in my body, even my blood was crazy. So, I mean, had turned sickle and shapes hadn't changed. So I was like, you know, I was reading down, I'm like, how is it everything in my body? And then I had to laugh. I said, oh, Satan, you is crazy. I said, oh, this is a God thing right here. I said, but this is an attack on my body. And I was like, okay, God gonna heal this. So I started looking at it as, okay, my steps are ordered by the Lord. So I was like, okay, so first we're going to attack this. Okay, let's go to this. Let me call this out. We're going to go get this healed. Okay, then we're going to go to the next step. Okay, get that healed. Go to the next step. I'm like, okay, we're going to go down the line. And then when, I would say that setback happened. But see, I'm so quick to say, oh, God, this and that. But what I had failed to realize, child, I was like, okay, I'm home. Don't want to sit down because I'm like, you know, I'm like, okay, God, you give me this because a man don't work, don't eat, right? You know, that how sometimes you take religious things, traditional things that you grew up with and apply. When God said, I told you to sit your tail down because I got this. I've been supplying all your needs since September and different things. Because you had, you know, I've been spending money doing this, doing things that you didn't even think about, that you have forgot about coming in. People finding you like, hey, like, huh? But anyway, so I call myself walking, well, I'm gonna push this. Okay, I know I gotta get away, but I feel really good. I'm gonna walk all these miles. And I'll end up saying, oh, I do crafts and I do furniture flips. I was flipping, like, oh, I'm gonna flip this. But now they're sanding and everything. So when she was talking to me, I had to sit there and say, man, I'm sitting here, oh my God, I thought we've been through this and I wonder why the pain coming back. I said, because at the first sign of relief, I went back to the old me. I was like, everything ain't even taken care of, still got other stuff. I said, but my first sign of having half the pain that I didn't have, I said, I done went back to my old behavior because I always taking stuff in control, because it was like, okay, I got to do this. I'm going to start this business. Okay, well, this and this. Okay, we're going to do this. Invest in here, invest in there. Because if this happened for a rainy day, you got to do this for this. I had invested in stuff. Like, I started a trucking company. Ain't nowhere in the world I should start a trucking company. But I mean, God let me come out of it. But it didn't go where it should have. It was stressful. But then I did get enough sense one day I was in the truck. And he was like, get out of it. Because and they didn't understand. I told people, I am not coming back. I don't care about the drivers of y'all got to do. You will not see me in no truck. Because I knew my life. He showed me it was life or death. But girl, yeah, it's take. And that's when I realized, I was like, man, this me. Yeah. That's the problem. Taking away. They got back in my old habits. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, God, talking about, I thought we didn't been through this. They're like, girl, you moving tables, you sanding stuff, you doing this. You done went walking. You ain't supposed to be walking on 2 miles. You're like, what you doing? You're like, here you go again. Mm-hmm. He's like, do what I told you to do.
Mm-hmm. We be needing to hear it though.
I was talking to my aunt, and it came up so clear. Because I was like, oh God, I'm having a room. I don't know. I told her, I said, well, it's a process. I'm gonna see what the doctors say. We have to go back and revisit. And go like, cause you going back to the same, trying to get back to the same you.
Cause you revisiting stuff too.
Like, can you sit down and get out the way? That's when the instrument thing came up. I was like, God, you was the instrument. He's like, girl, I'm trying. He's like, the instrument got legs. I'm like, how instrument got legs? He's like, yeah, you do.
That's good. That's good. Man, we be needing to hear that. Sometimes we gotta get out the way, Mm-hmm. I'll be like, ooh, okay. I can't thank you enough for this. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed it, of course.
Thank you. We always have a good time. And whenever you need me again, hey, just call me. And you have your women's, when you have your women's group, mm-hmm. When you have, last time you had a mixer, right?
Yep.
I had another engagement, but yeah, just send me a link to let me know, and I'll definitely get it out, and I'll make sure I get it to some more people. So
I appreciate that.
I also, I shared with some of my family members and my inner circle. I shared and told them what you're doing is totally amazing, and continue.
I appreciate that. You know what? It's honestly, it's God. I'm just like you said, I'm just the vessel, right?
Still got to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so many of us that have it, and they be like, I ain't gonna move. You be like, hey, God told you to do this. And you be looking like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Let the Healing Begin podcast. A couple ways to support. You can head on over to Amazon, purchase a copy of Back in My Day by Asia Wilson. You can also go over to healingisalifestyle.org, join the all women's inclusive community. And then last but not least, you can head on over to greatergrowthllc.com, purchase a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. And until next time.